So today I'm going to fix this little yoke here, but it's not running. This yoke, it hasn't run in about 2.5 years. So we're going to tie this up to the back of the quad, and the girl's just going to steer it for me while I pull it up to the workshop, and we're going to tear into this, see can we get this yoke to run. Oh, that made it fit. Do that. Thank you. These are lawnmowers, so a bit of a prick of a thing to push up, because of the kind of transmissions in them. Now, the last one that I had a little switch that you could flick off, and it would kind of put it into neutral, which made it easy to push. I'm not sure if it's on this one. I'll have to have a look about, because I haven't used this one an awful lot. I've been laying in a shed under a heap of rags. We had to dig it out of a shed actually last night. It's a Bridges and Stratton engine. Like anything else that's in this one, it's a 19.5 Intech engine, so it's a decent enough power plant that's in it. And the reason I'm showing you this at all, I wasn't going to Sunday, but it's something different, you know. And a lot of people have lawnmowers and tractor lawnmowers, and maybe we're watching what we're going to do to this one. It might help you fix a problem with your own. Now, this one has been laying about 2.5, 3 years laying completely unused, which isn't great. And one problem with this one is it doesn't have a fuel cut off. Now, if you're going to leave a lawnmower sitting, it's a great idea to turn off the fuel and run your lawnmower until it runs out of fuel. That will work wonders when you go to use it the next time. Fortunately, I didn't take my own advice and I didn't do that, and there was fuel still in the tank and no cut off. So fuel was sitting at the whole time, and that's not good, because that oil fuel kind of turns into a varnish type stuff, and it can clog up all the jets and everything, and just, it's a common cause of why people have trouble trying to get lawnmowers back working again in the springtime. Last night I took it out, I put the battery booster on it, and again it run for about 3 minutes, billowing out black smoke, not half running, just chucking, and then it completely cut out and it won't start since. So I'm going to try to diagnose here this morning really quick what might be wrong with it. I have a few suspicions. Now, black smoke on a mower like this can indicate that she's been starved of air. I think it's either carburetor related or the air filter. First thing I'm going to do is take off this air filter. Have a check to see is it blocked. It's not great. It might look clear like that, but there's a lot of soaking on that, and it's middling, but it's not the worst I've ever seen. There's another little grill on the back of this. That could be part of our problem. That is dirty. I'm going to order a new one, and a new one of these. They're not expensive. But we're going to just blow that out in air line first. Right, that guy's very dirty and he's soaked in oil, so I could wash it in petrol, that'll clean it and dry it out, but I'm actually going to just leave it off it, because we're not doing a whole pile of day and it's not dusty weather, so I'm going to take that out altogether for now. So having that air filter out, I really don't think that's our problem. Bit of dirt in it, but not to the extent of the smoke we were getting. I do think it's full of bad fuel, and that's our main problem. So I would advise when you're working on these kind of things, don't use an impact. It'll cause you more trouble in it, and it'll end up ripping threads and everything out of that aluminium housing, so just use a ratchet. There we are. There's some out down there. There we go. So there, in a few minutes, is our carburetor out, and what just flowed out of that there was dirty petrol. Take our sediment bowl off first. Right. Sometimes it can be hard enough to get off these. No. Right, so we just get this lad out here. Flathead. Fit into it. Yep. There's a gentle tap. There it is. Same with the other one. Yeah, she's spotless. So I'm going to take this float out. This is our needle, which looks a little bit worn. Right, it's not stuck anyway, that's the main thing. Let's buy off here first. spray some carb cleaner into that. When you check your float, just give it a little shake to make sure there's no fuel. Some of these can burst, and then if there's fuel in it, the buoyancy won't be right. So she'll always be pouring fuel in, she won't shut down right. That one there is empty, so it's fine. I don't see anything there that stands out. I wish I did see something very obvious, would have been an easy fix. That has been off before, that's one thing for sure, because this is all bent as well. I have noticed something when I was working on it. That by there is loose. And I do notice a gap there, compared to the other side where there's no gap. And that would allow air in. Anyway, it's tightened now and it's well sucked in. Anyway, we'll fire this back together again and see if it want to dance. So a way to check to see is it sealing the needle. Get this pushed up. Blow in and just flip up the float, and if the air seals, then your needle's generally fine. That seems good. Doesn't taste great though. Put this back, little rubber back in. They want it to come out so easy. Usually when they want to come out, they don't like to go back in. That. You slip in there. There we are. So this is our little fuel pump here. So I want to see, is it actually pumping fuel? I'm sure it is, but still, be no harm to actually pump some of that stale fuel that's in it. I have half filled the tank with fresh fuel, so I'm going to pump this for a little while, just let some of that stuff out. Yeah, and she started to try and fire up, which is even better. That looks good. Right, so I want to check the oil here. A couple of things I want to check with the oil is it's not over full, because an over full engine would cause it to smoke. It blocks the breather pipe, so you don't want to overfill these engines. And she's just about right. Another thing to do as well is to smell the oil, and it doesn't smell of any gas in it, so that's alright. Here goes. So I'm going to check the plug. That's one thing I didn't check. Pull it out, see is it absolutely soaked. It could be flooded. I don't think I have any plugs here, but we'll have a look at it first and see what it's like. Yeah, see that? Absolutely drenched. That's what I was thinking. So I'm going to turn it over a few times just to try and blow out anything that might be in there. Dry this plug and give it another whack. I know we're getting spark because she wouldn't have run at all. Now it could be an intermittent spark, but without going to the hassle now of checking, I'm just going to put it back in and check again. See what she does. Wait a minute. I've got to connect this up. I'll give her a go and see what happens. So a couple of days has passed. The post has come to me, and we've got a few bits and pieces that's going to maybe make it run or make it last a bit longer. Probably bypass having to do them jobs again. Very simple one, and that is to replace the plug. The new plug here this morning, just had to order it in. Right, one other thing I want to replace when we're in here is this inline fuel filter. You can't see into this one, you can't see what it's like. You can see fuel moving a bit. It's a plastic tank, unless the only dirt that you can get into it really would be from stuff maybe people fill it with a dirty can or something like that. But I'd say it never was changed since this mower was new. So it's worthwhile just sticking one of those in it. There you go. So it's a wee bit awkward to get off, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this top one here into the pump, and that way it might allow me to twist it or do something, because that there is very, very awkward. Right, that'll allow us just to pull it out. Get this thing off, screw it off, there it is. Right, we have a new one here that you can actually see into, which is much better. Just want to check to make sure the fuel flow is going the right way. So this is the way we want her here. I'm going to actually try to cut this pipe here in an awkward spot. This is the guy that I'm talking about here. So this is certainly on a lot of the new ones. So all you have is basically a valve. You just put it on your fuel line and you'll be fit to turn it off and on. It's as simple as that. I got two of them here for €7. Like, where can you go wrong? That's it in. That's that guy on there. On our new clips, we're at it. There. There we have her. And that's it. There now you have a fuel cut off. I'd always advise, if you're going to leave it sitting for a couple of months, turn off the fuel and leave the mower running until it runs out of fuel. And that way it'll empty the carburetor out completely. No fuel is going to bypass that valve, and you'll avoid having to pull the carburetor off or doing any of the work that we were doing there a while ago. Not this massively hard or anything, but it just saves you that time by running the thing dry. That's it. Just pull them forward. You loosen them, pull them forward a wee bit, and it's coming out. And actually the oil doesn't look great. A little bit of fine metallic. Look at this nut now, the major. I'll have a look at the filter to see do I see anything, but yeah, time for that to be changed. Holy hell, that is tight. Oh, here we go, eventually. I'm just going to put a wee bit of oil around that seal. Screw her on. So I'm going to take this battery out while we're working on it. It might as well be charging. And we'll get a couple of hours charging to make a big difference. Because every time I go to this mower, I'm having to use the battery pack. So it's just purely because I'm not getting enough time to charge. A quick look here on the mat, just at the cells. See that any of them need a wee top up. Can you see that? Can you see the water, just a reflection of water? Alright, so we're just going to charge it, look it. I have a feeling it'll be alright. If it's not, we'll put a new battery in it. That battery's been a long time probably on that mower. So 12 volt, on she goes. We'll leave it just at a trickle charge and let that work away. I want to wait for that battery to charge. But one thing I do want to do is I want to have a look at these blades, because I haven't done them in a while, and you can see my two helpers is here beside me, which are offering a hell of a hand, as always. Another reason why is a lot of people are probably afraid to take a deck off a mower, and it's actually straightforward. So there's a wee spring here I see you need to remove first. I get a grip of it. There it is, that's that off. Clip here. There we go. There we go. So that just takes the pressure off it. There's a belt here that drives this, and you can be lucky. Some of them can have a guide that holds the belt in place that you might have to remove. So mind, you see that spring in there? So that spring is what puts the tension on this. It's just pulling against the pulley onto the frame underneath the mower. So if you loosen that off, that's going to take the tension immediately off that belt, and the rest is going to be straightforward after that. There he is. That's it released there. You can see that, but that's the spring released. And now our belt should just fall off like that. So them two clips that we removed, just pull out them pins now. Be a little bit stiff. Haven't been out in a long time. You might have to lift your deck a wee bit just to wobble it about. So when you're in doubt, just hammer it out. There's a wee clip here on the front end you remove for another pin. It usually goes across the front to hold it in place. And that pin will pull out. So take your clip off first. And that's the clip that's on this one. They're all different. This pin will pull out. Your deck will be fully released then. That drops down. And that is your deck completely disconnected. I'm going to pull it forward here a little bit. And that's just releasing it from the chute that's on the back. If you find you're having trouble doing that, then pull the chute out. Just like that. And that's it out enough. And now your deck will be on the ground. There it is. Just a matter of sliding it out. Just take your time and work it out. And this way. That's it. And you can get a new deck for them easy enough. These here, they're not too hard to get. But there's plenty of years left in this. Some people will sandblast them down, wash them down and put some paint on them. Yeah, that's a good enough idea to do. I'm not doing that today, but if you want to do that, yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. Just make sure you take off as much of their rust as you can, because if you seal the rust in with paint, it normally makes it even worse. Alright, well that wasn't bad. Alright, tuck the old blade out and give it a bit of an old touch up. Bit of a clean when I'm talking about touching up. Not to make it cosmetically any prettier, because it doesn't get much prettier. It's actually because I want to balance it. I want to have a look and see what way the blade is balanced. Balance is important enough, because it'll take the vibration out of the deck. If you find your deck has got a lot of vibration, and chances are your balance is off. Your blade could even be twisted. So one of the easiest way to do it is just get a nail and stick it in a vise. Put it on top of the nail. Try to get it as center as you possibly can. And actually, didn't expect it to be, but it actually is balanced. So you can see the way the blade sits more or less even. If you found that the blade was tilting down like that on one side, the easiest way to fix it, and it is very easy to fix, is to just take a wee bit more off the edge on that side and have a look to see maybe there's a nick or a bit of steel gone on this side, which is common enough. All I'm going to do is add a wee bit of copper grease onto this nut, or bolt I should say, before we put it back on. In regards to torquing these down, I think the spec on these is around 70 to 90 pounds. I'm going to use the German spec, which is good and tight. She's going nowhere. She's not wanting to come off. I'm just going to add a wee bit of heat. That's all. Anyway, I'm not going to show you the same process. We're going to sharpen this and do the very same thing and put this deck back on. So, she's back together. But I found a bigger problem. Well, not a big problem, it's a problem. And I can't put it back together the way it is. And that is the chute. Do you remember we were showing you the chute that pulls back when we're taking the deck off? Well, didn't get a look at what it was like in the bottom, and they're notorious for rotting. And this one is in, it's in sorry old state, and I cannot put it back the way it is. You can see the whole lower half is completely rotted out of it. I don't want to break it off completely, because I want to try to make something here. I have a few old bits of steel lying about. I haven't much now, but I have something, and I'm hoping that I can just patch up something to make this work. Yeah, she's toasty. in here because it's blowing a storm outside this last 3 days. I want to just get this to fit in. It looks about right. This job has turned into a bigger one than I first anticipated, but I have the chute back in where it should be, but it's not finished. I'm going to grab a light here and show you what I mean. You can see the hole that's underneath there that's not filled up. So I have to make a slope piece that will fit in there, so when the grass comes up it doesn't blow out that hole, it goes up the chute itself. So I'm just going to have to tack something in place first, kind of work from there, trial and error, till we kind of get it right. Problem is I've nothing ready to go on, only this old piece here, which is in a hard looking old state, and yeah, you can't really take it as a template because it kind of wants to do anything. I can't weld to here because another piece of steel now has to come in here and sit against that, so I have to go a wee bit smaller, probably about there, and weld it out at an angle. It's not much of an angle, but it's still an angle. I'm going to use this piece here and just dot in a few bits, pull it out, put it back in again and try until we kind of get it right. Do you see this little guy here? We talked about it before, but can you see above it? It's not just sitting down fully. The reason it's not sitting down fully is because that plate that I just tacked on has too much of an angle on it, just slightly. So all I need to do is the right length and everything, and it's sitting in the right place. And all I need to do is just tap it up a wee bit, just slightly, take a wee bit of that angle out of it, and then the chute will sit down right, and our job will be done. So that's the finished job there now. I slapped a lock of black paint on it just to kind of give it a wee bit of protection. Right. Now it's just a matter of getting it in its place. It'll always be easy. So that's there now, the finished job. And the grass will fit to go up there and it'll not get out the bottom anymore. The battery's in there now and practically fully charged. And now we can just turn on our fuel and start up our engine. It's going to have to be primed for a bit because it'll take a wee while. I'm just going to start over here and you can watch it yourselves. If you watch that little guy there, hopefully fuel will come. Choke on. That's our job finished. It's different content than I'd normally put up, but you know what, December is a month where I spend most of my time doing our maintenance, because cows now, it's relatively just a routine jobs where you're just cleaning, feeding and milking a wee bit. We're only making a few cows now, but come mid-January it's going to change in a very big way, because we'll have cows calving galore from mid-January onwards. Now this time last year we actually had a few cows almost ready to calve, but I've changed the thing a little bit. I'm going a bit easier on myself, so I've no cows calving until well into the second week of January. The first was actually due on the 7th, but I'm predicting that she'll carry on into the second week. So December for me, maintenance. So getting this up and running. I have the quad to bring in tomorrow. I'm going to be servicing that. I want to service the 5460. It needs an oil change and probably a fuel filter as well. And it just allows me to go around and do them things and work on those things this month, because come that time when they start calving, there's no time for anything else. And I don't want to be laying under a tractor or rooting at something. Then I want to just be able to focus on my cows calving. So that's the reason why I've been working on little jobs like this. I do enjoy it. Now that I have a wee bit of a workshop here, it's nice to be able to get in and out of the elements, because it's a storm outside and it's pouring rain this last 3 days. And even my audience constantly joins me, my live audience. Anyway guys, you're probably watching this either on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. I hope you have a great Christmas. I hope the big man comes to all of you young people who are excited about it. But have a good one, folks. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.